Update. I think my boyfriend is lying about being in medical school. Original story. I, 26 female, have been dating Sam, 31 male, for about 4 months now. We met online, and he told me he was going to be a doctor. The first 2 months were fine, but the last 2 months I have started to feel like he hasn't been honest about several aspects of his life, the biggest being him in medical school. He used to live overseas and was in medical school there for a short time. I'm pretty sure this is true because I've seen pictures. But that was about 5 years ago. The school that he says he goes to is fairly prestigious, and I have another friend, Jason, who graduated with a medical degree from the same school. Jason has told me how difficult the program was and how he never had time for anything besides studying. Jason also said that nobody in his program worked. Sam works 40 hours a week in an office, and I've never once seen him study. He always seemed to have a completely open schedule to hang out all the time, which I thought was odd. I asked him why he never is studying. He said he doesn't need to. I was always a good test taker. I never studied a lot in college, but I still feel like medical school is a whole different ballgame. I've spent a lot of time at Sam's house, and I've never seen a single document suggesting he was in school. Textbooks, assignments, nothing. He also has let me use both of his computers, and I've never seen anything on his history or anything suggesting anything to do with school. I don't know about you guys, but when I was in school, I had papers all over my house, and my computer always had school stuff on it. A few weeks ago, we were at dinner, and I can't remember how this was brought up, but I mentioned that the human ear has 30-something bones in it. I know from high school biology that it has only 3 bones, so I said it was wrong. He said something to the effect of, "I'm a medical student. How are you going to tell me I'm wrong?" So I googled it right in front of him and showed him that I was correct, and he seemed mad. I then asked him how many bones were in the human body, and he was wrong again. I feel like this is pretty basic stuff a medical student would know, right? Even I know that. So this week I've been feeling suspicious, so I decided to prod. I asked him if I could come sit in one of his classes. I decided school doesn't do that. Fine. I asked if we could meet up on campus for lunch. I decided I couldn't come because you need a student ID to get on campus due to COVID. Fine. Then I asked to see a student ID. I decided I lost it. Then I asked him if he could send me a selfie of him in his hospital uniform. I decided he doesn't like the way he looks in a white coat. He sends me other selfies all the time. I feel like at this point he's lying, but some of my friends say I'm being paranoid. If he is lying, how should I prove it? Edit. He's not actually my boyfriend, he's just someone I've been seeing frequently. I just wrote that for the ease of the title. Felt it was worth noting that these past 6 weeks have been summer vacation, so he hasn't needed to be in class. He said he would get a new student ID when classes start. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Honey, you need to walk away. The red flags are waving in the breeze. Loudly. If he will lie about this, there's no limit to what he will lie about. Does he even work where he says he does? I've been to his office job and met his co-workers. So yes, I know he works 40 hours in an office. Let me tell you this from the perspective of someone who caught a liar. Once you catch them in a lie this big, the trust is just gone. You're always going to have it in the back of your mind that he's lying, even when he's telling the truth. Lying about being in medical school is a big lie. Yeah, this is incredibly sketchy. The empty computer and no schoolwork are the biggest concerns I have as a current university student. In my opinion, this deserves an immediate conversation involving an ultimatum. He comes clean and proves his status as a student beyond any shadow of a doubt, or you're freaking out of there. I think you know what's going to happen, and I'm really sorry in advance. Also, if you need a student ID to get on campus and lost his, how is he getting onto campus? If he's taking classes remotely, there would be no reason she couldn't sit in the room and watch/listen, so he must be going in. I've listened to this exact podcast. Seriously, this exact story. Run. Current season of Something Was Wrong. What happened to the podcast? Spoilers if you're listening. It's not finished yet, but he was totally lying, cheated on her, was controlling and abusive, got them into debt, and it sounds like the next episode will reveal how he stole her daughter. He had a second woman on his side. He made up even more ludicrous lies too. She lost her husband and kids because of him. Edited to add, she ignored everyone's warning and married him. The podcast takes place over years. And now for the update. So, the response was overwhelming and I'm glad I got confirmation on my suspicions because I felt like I was going crazy. I broke up with him over FaceTime. I didn't tell him the real reason, just gave a vague explanation about not being ready to date anybody. There are other things, in addition to my post, that I'm pretty sure he was also lying about. I didn't bring any of his lies up because honestly I feel slightly scared of a person who would lie about things like that. He didn't take it very well and sent me a barrage of texts trying to guilt trip me and also was borderline harassing me into meeting up with him. Apparently he bought me a present and was trying to force me to take it. Overall, just really gaslighty and manipulative. I eventually just stopped responding and I haven't heard anything in a few days. Hopefully never have to see or speak to him again. Thanks to you all for your response. Going forward, I'll be a lot more cautious about who I believe. Sounds like you dodged a bullet. This dude has failed in life narcissist written all over him. Read your entire story. I'm glad you're moving on. You sound extremely mature in your actions and I commend you. The gaslighting is just confirmation that you made a right decision. Also, can I just say, who logically believes that an ear has 30 bones? Coming from a physician, he was 100% lying. No one, and I mean no one, works in med school, especially the first 2 years. The most I've seen is classmates doing Uber during their 4th year in the evenings. It is impossible to have a 40-hour office job and go to med school. Even if all the classes were recorded and he would watch them when he got home, he would fail out. In med school, all my classmates were studying through the day, every day. The ones who treated med school like college failed out. The only times we would go out would be the Friday after an exam week. Yes, you heard me. Exam week. Maybe the following Saturday would be a day off. Then back to the grind. Even if he was in his 3rd or 4th year, considered the easier years, he would still have clinicals at least Monday through Friday and would not be able to hold down a job. There's a reason we're all in debt. Lol. Next story is titled, Update. My 28 female boyfriend, 32 male, told me a white lie for almost 3 years, and I'm not sure if it's a red flag. Original story. I'll try to make this as short as possible, but it's going to be long as hell because there is so much lying going on. My boyfriend and I have been dating for almost 3 years, living together for 2. We have a pretty good relationship, obviously with ups and downs, but we make it work and are happy. A little background on me / my boyfriend for context. I come from a single-parent home. My father was absent. My mother was / is by no means perfect, but she did her best with what she had. We were poor. Life was never easy for us, but we had each other. Since I was pretty young, I've wanted to pay her back someday. I've worked incredibly hard to be able to do so. I help her financially as much as I can and regularly pay her bills / send her cash. I'm also her only living child now as my brother passed away 5 years ago, which basically left me to help her. I don't care. I love my mother, and the right thing to do is to help her when she needs it. But it is stressful. This is relevant because my boyfriend described coming from a somewhat similar past, and it is something we have bonded over. Having the mutual experiences seemed to bring us closer. He told me he also helped his parents financially, and we would often vent to each other about the stress it brings. I am not one to confide in many people, so having someone I felt like actually understood me was meaningful to me. So, here is where the lies come in, and I need someone to either tell me I'm not crazy and this is messed up, or that I'm crazy and this isn't a huge deal. I'm fine with either. When we met, my boyfriend lived in a condo in a pretty swanky part of the city. I live in the US Northeast. He told me he owned that apartment / condo. I found this to be interesting / odd because he was 28 at the time, and I know this property is upwards of $650,000 on the low end, and he was in an entry-level job for only like 2 years, so the numbers just didn't really add up. Whatever, maybe he's good at saving? But then since living together, I never once saw a piece of mail for a mortgage payment, electric bill, taxes, nothing. Not for 2 whole years. Very odd. Also, when we started living together, he didn't have his room rented out in the former apartment yet, so he was still responsible for that portion of the rent. He would send a Venmo payment to his mother on the 1st of every month for his portion. I don't own property, but I can't think of a scenario where I would Venmo my mother to pay the mortgage on a property I supposedly own. Getting more odd. He would then go to his parents' house for an afternoon and come back really upset. Usually when I would ask why, it was because they were having financial problems and he needed to help them out. I totally understood this and supported him. He literally has cried on my shoulders about this many times. He tried to start a company years back and ended up getting into debt somehow. He told me his debt was $17,000 and that he paid it off. I'm confused because I met him only 2 to 3 years after this post-debt accrued/company dissolved, and it was already paid off? He told me when he moved back home after the business failed, he was $17,000 in debt and living at his parents' house working at a minimum wage job. How someone with a minimum wage job pays off that much debt in 3 years? I'll never know. We got into a fight a few weeks ago and I finally had enough and confronted him about these things. Long story short, he doesn't help his parents. They actually pay his phone bill. And this was all a lie. He doesn't own that apartment. He didn't pay off that debt from his company. He initially told me his parents helped pay it off, and then like 3 minutes later came clean and said that his business partner paid it off, so I have literally no idea what the truth is there. And if anything, in my eyes, his parents are the ones who are financially supporting him. So now, I'm dating a 31-year-old man who doesn't pay his own phone bill, was lying to me and/or completely fabricating aspects of his life for 3 years, and then when confronted about it, continued to make up lies, and then came clean about them 5 minutes later. I'm obviously concerned that he could lie for this long, about fundamentally important things like our values and so on. I sincerely thought I would marry this man. He seemed to understand me like no one else, and to be a truly caring and genuine person. Now, I'm having a hard time rationalizing actually planning a life around someone who would not only lie about their background and family, etc., but also financial aspects. Aside from that, I now can't tell what is the truth and what is a lie. I've also noticed other things he has lied about, called him out on it, and he has denied it outright to my face. I see this as a form of gaslighting, as I know I'm not wrong, but he is trying to convince me otherwise. Am I overreacting? Is this a white lie that went haywire? Or is this actually a series of complete and utter BS used to manipulate me? And also, is it insane for me to actually consider a life with this man? Any advice is appreciated. Now for the top advice before reading the update. This isn't a white lie. This is a huge web of lies in which has built the foundations of your relationship. I would forever be wondering what else he's lied about. Get out! This is the issue for me. It honestly wouldn't be as big of a deal if this wasn't like a huge part of our relationship. The bonding and confiding in one another, I mean. I come from a harsh background, and I had a difficult life growing up, and it was very special to me to have someone who I thought could at least mildly understand. I've also told him so many painful and personal things while he was lying to me non-stop apparently. I mean, you still don't even know what he was coming back from his parents so upset about, do you? My guess is that his parents pay a lot more than his phone bill, and they're either trying to wean him off, which he's having tantrums about, or simply declining to throw even more money at him, which he's having tantrums about. None of these are white lies. White lies are harmless lies that make social interactions go smoother. This is a man who's had no problems lying to you for 3 years about his financial situation, and who only came clean because you're not an idiot and realized the numbers didn't add up. If you hadn't questioned it, how long would he have kept lying to you? And you already know this isn't just a white lie that got out of control. You say in your post that he lies to your face about other things. So no, this isn't a small issue. You're dating a guy who literally lies to you all the time about everything, including things that really affect you and your future. So yes, I think it is insane that you're still considering life with this man. And now for the update. My previous post got more attention than expected, so I figured I'd update. Well, it's over. As many of you suggested, I couldn't possibly build my life around someone who lied so pathologically. I initially agreed to work into a relationship, provided that my ex get therapy to work through why I felt compelled to lie about so many aspects of his life. I also requested that he come clean to his parents, my parents, and anyone else he lied to or embellished the truth to. He agreed to this, and seemed genuinely interested in working on things at himself. I really wanted it to work out, and was willing to accept that maybe he was just wildly insecure, / had some attachment issues or something that caused him to act this way. I waited 4 months for the therapy and confessions to happen, and they never did. Not surprisingly. For those of you who were confused about how I didn't know he did not own this apartment for so long, / thought I had never met his parents, I had met them many, many times. But to be honest, they're pretty cold people who I never really connected with that much, and was definitely not comfortable enough to be like, hey, is your son a pathological liar or is all of this true? On top of that, he also told a lot of these lies to his parents as well, so they wouldn't have been keen to what I was talking about anyway. It got to the point where basically anything that came out of his mouth seemed like a lie or at least a half-truth to me. Also, I lost respect for someone who could lie so easily and then not even feel guilty enough or any remorse to come clean about it. I'm pretty honest, almost to a fault. So the cognitive dissonance there that occurred from being with someone who had basically opposite values for me was tough. I'm sure there were a lot of other things he was hiding, but I don't even care. I've been single and living alone for a week, and to be frank, I'm killing it. I'm now responsible for 100% of my rent, and I barely have any savings left. But I still feel like a giant weight has lifted off my shoulders. Crazy how that works. I want to thank all of the people who gave me the hard truth straight up and encouraged me to leave. Even though it was all coming from internet strangers, it still helps to hear people tell you that you deserve more than what you're getting. I'm so happy. And I must be giving off a much better vibe because I've already had 2 dates and been asked for my number a handful of times. I'm a server at a restaurant, lol. I sound like a cocky a-hole, but god does it feel good to remember you're not as worthless as someone made you feel. Thanks, Reddit. And if any of you are in a relationship with someone who is like this, GTFO and don't look back. I sound like a cocky a-hole, but god does it feel good to remember you're not as worthless as someone made you feel. Not even a little bit. I'm so happy for you. Also, you should be proud of yourself. I agree with this so much. Dopey said it so perfectly too. You are amazing and strong and empathetic and kind and loving and honest, Opie. And now you're happier and confident too. That likely shines through when you talk to people and only enhances what I can pretty much guarantee is your natural beauty. Of course you're killing it. Of course you're getting numbers and dates. You freaking rock, my friend. And you got this. Even though I don't know you personally, I'm very proud of you. BRB, crying. But seriously, thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words. I remember the story. I'm glad you broke up with him. You deserve better. Thank you. It's hard right now, but I feel better every day. I remember your post. It completely boggled my mind how this man could spin such a massive web of lies. And they were not even close to being white lies. Good for you. Looking back, I'm dying laughing at myself calling them white lies. Like, girl, what? But happy got out sooner rather than later. Thank you.